Three, two, one, go.
Welcome into Pressbox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of Pressbox at PressBoxOnline.com. And with me, as he always is on Thursdays, is my friend Eric Garfield at Eric_Birdland. And this is the program where I educate myself and hopefully educate our viewers about the Oriole farm system from top to bottom, including international signings. We've been doing this, about 9 months now?
Several months, a lot of stories, a
I
lot
mean,
of good topics too.
did we start back in December or January?
I believe it was January.
January, okay. So we've been doing it 8 or 9 months, and we'll continue. It may not be weekly all through the winter, but we're going to continue keeping you up to date on prospects as we move forward, because there's always new news. There's the fall, the Arizona Fall League, and there's all kinds of international signings during the winter, and we'll just keep you abreast of everything. We are brought to you by our friends at AJ Michaels, expert award-winning AJ Michaels heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and home performance. They will improve your energy efficiency, kill all allergens and viruses, and possibly qualify you for $6,000 in rebates. That's AJ Michaels. Turn to the experts, AJ Michaels and Carrier at ajmichaels.com. In addition to the Costas Inn, our longtime sponsor, and I refer to them because they've been sponsoring Stan the Fan stuff for close to 30 years now. In addition to Costas Inn, which we hear about in the middle of the Zoom, if you are craving that classic New York deli experience, look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different, Eric, a bar. Atman's has food and drink specials every day. They're now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game, including all the games this weekend against the Houston Astros. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find them at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com. And we want to say at the outset that we are very glad, Eric and I, and Ross and Luke, we're very glad that you watch us, and we would appreciate it if you would like these Zooms, follow, and share our show. It helps us prove to sponsors that you are out there watching and taking it in. Eric, I'm not saying we struggled, but we were looking for something a little unique. And one of the things that the Orioles, not too long ago, there was Hayes, Mullins, and Santander during the rebuild. And you started hearing about players like Kyle Stowers, Colton Cowser. Then it moved on to Heston Kjerstad, Dylan Beavers, Judd Fabian, Matt Etzel, Billy Cook, whole plethora. Last year, Enrique Bradfield, Matt Horvath, and some of these have already been used in trades, like Etzel, Cook, and Horvath as part of trades. And this year, Honeycutt, they got drafted #1, their #1 pick, Vance Honeycutt. So you let me know that in 2020, they drafted 2 outfielders. 21, they drafted 4. 22, they drafted 3. Excuse me, 22, they drafted 3. 23, last year, they drafted 5, and this year again, 4. It's a lot of outfielders. And then with all the turnover, the people traded and so forth, where is the organization right now? The leading prospect still in the minors, outfield wise, is Heston Kjerstad, but he is still recovering from the concussion that he received when he hit by the pitch by Clay Holmes, who I guarantee you wasn't trying to throw at him in the 9th inning. I think it was.
I'm going to say that by those acquisitions, there's been a couple of minor league releases and waivings And we can also, as we've talked about in subsequent shows, examine the international class as well. But we can see the profile of the outfield contributor that the Orioles are looking for, and it's less Steven Acevedo, less long and power, and more Bradfield slash Tavian Josenberger, who Luke introduced a lot of our readers to in an excellent interview last week. So a little bit less extra base power and a little bit more on base slash speed profile overall.
Okay. But the depth of it with the trade of Stowers and the trade of Norby, who at one time played a little outfield, but
Yep.
Norby and
Pretty good
Stowers are
outfielder.
gone. Etzel, Horvath, and Cook are gone.
Yep.
It leaves about 5 or 6 guys that are players that they've really liked for a while. And
Yep.
I'm including Beavers, Judd Fabian, and Bradfield, and a couple more, Hudson Haskins,
And
um,
Josenberger.
and Josenberger.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about the growth. I'm going to start with 2 of them, and they're taking finally diverging paths. Judd Fabian was just up to Norfolk, and Dylan Beavers, his running mate for the past couple of years, is still at Bowie. Is there much difference between the 2 of them? Why did one get up and one stayed back?
That is a good question. I don't. I guess athletically, they're not the same size. Beavers is a little taller, a little longer, a little better at using his length. He profiles more based on movement as a corner outfielder. Fabian, a little more acceleration off that first step, not as long limbed, profiles as an outstanding defensive center fielder. So I don't think that has anything to do with why he was promoted first. They're also the same age. They're both 23, and they both attended major colleges and did well in college. So I can't speculate on why one seemed ready for a promotion faster, but both are going to arrive on the 40 man and help the Orioles together. They'll transition out of the minors when it's time together, and I believe that will be in February of next year. They'll start playing in a lot of spring training games and start showing they're worthy of a 40-man spot.
I asked that because I looked at their numbers this morning when we talked about this topic, and I didn't really see a great difference. That one of them seemed like he was really on the verge of a major league, that he was ready to come up and help him tomorrow if Colton Cowser got hurt, but Beavers wasn't. So that's why I posed that question.
Okay. I guess in their statistical profiles, the one major difference, and it obviously did not affect him adversely, Fabian strikes out a some would say a significant percentage more. He's up closer to 30% to a third of the time, which the Orioles didn't deem horrible because they promoted him ahead of Beavers, who is a lot closer to 20%, 22% when things are going bad. So one is a 1/3 of the time strikeout guy.
Yeah,
It doesn't affect his overall numbers.
A little better than 1/5.
Right. So maybe a little bit better strike zone judger slash executor when the ball is in the zone. But again, it does not hurt his overall profile. His ability, Fabian's ability to get on base or to drive in runs, he's actually doing quite well individually and quite well compared to his league. So the promotion was well earned. He already hit a home run this afternoon, and last week he had an over the catch, like a over the wall Jim Edmonds style catch, bringing a sure home run back in. So he's getting comfortable at AAA as we speak. Great sign for his short-term development.
Okay. Are both of them? I'm just curious because now when you watch Elias, you realize that some of these guys are going to make the Orioles eventually, and some of them will be merely used as the prospects to get what he needs more at the major league level. Are both of them in your eyes? Because I know you follow this pretty closely. for example, with the Pirates, because you're down there in Bradenton, do you think they are both held in high esteem by other teams,
Ah,
Fabian and Beavers?
well, that's a great question. I know that other organizations have gotten in touch with me. I don't work for the Orioles to
Right.
ask me specific things about Dylan Beaver's profile, and that was upon his draft. So other teams know who he is, and I'm sure they've noted his improvement and his low rates in terms of strikeouts. So I would bet when the Orioles are talking trades and the return is a veteran, an established major league player, he has been, and will continue to be someone that other organizations want. He is on the precipice of what looks like a pretty long and pretty good major league career. So yeah, as an Orioles fan slash supporter, I'm hoping very much that he stays with us and finds a way to be the right fielder from 2026 on.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the promotion of Fabian left sort of a hole that the Orioles decided that Bradfield had done enough at Aberdeen and they wanted to accelerate his progress a little bit, which would put him more in line with a potential debut in 26, I guess.
Yep.
That's what I'm
Yep.
thinking. Um, was he deserving of that promotion? I know you haven't been his biggest booster, but he's had a reasonably decent year numbers wise.
I'm gonna say for what the Orioles laid out and asked him at the beginning of the season, he's already there. So I don't want to say exit velocities be damned, but he needed to show them that he could start late in the season, still lead a team in steals and runs, and get on base at a clip that satisfies them. I don't think they really care how he gets to first, but his profile can start to adjust and really have an effect on games individually. And then from there, series and homestands once he gets to first base. And he did that in Aberdeen. He did that at a requisite rate. And so to answer your very short yes or no question in the longest way possible, yes, he did deserve this promotion. And he's already done quite well at Bowie doing the same thing, getting on base, showing that he can bunt for a base hit, showing that he can beat out a short bunt. He is a very unique athlete, and I'm going to hold strong to the fact that he needs to drive the ball and put it in play with a little bit more ferocity. But he's getting on base, he's stealing, and he's scoring runs. And I believe that's what he's being asked to do right now.
You told me that story and we talked about it on the air. We didn't go into depth about it, but where they were working on his bunting.
Yep.
Have you gotten the feedback from what you watch and what you've heard that
Yes.
he's become adept at that? I mean, or
Yes.
is he just he's getting it down and he's so fast, or is he actually good at it?
Oh, okay. That's an excellent question.
Because you get back to Cedric Mullins when Cedric was really scuffling this year. It's nice that he's got 14 home runs, but that on base percentage of Cedric's was under 300.
It was
Where
280s.
if he went back to like what he was 3-4 years ago when he really burst on the scene, that bunting was tremendously helpful to him being on first, and then he could steal second.
Stan, that right. That's a great question and a great rationale for asking it. And I'm going to say this is why the Orioles system is good and is looked at as one of the best in the world, if not, by some means the best. They took us something that he was already pretty good at and made him even better to the point where he now has it as a weapon whenever
a real tool in his quiver in his whatever it's called.
Whatever axiom you would like to use. Yeah. When Bradfield is up, if he needs to bunt to move somebody over, he can. If he needs to bunt for his own base hit, he can. So, if he's not going to hit it 110 miles an hour every time, and it looks like he's not, then this is something that can add to his profile and not allow for deficiency. If he's on first base, he's fine.
And it can pull the third baseman in, and then if he does become really adept
He
at
can hit
how
it
to
over.
hit, he can hit it past them,
Right.
because it's
These are major,
straight.
but these are major league skills we're discussing.
Yeah, yeah. But when a third baseman comes in, it leaves more area that's open and a
Yep.
talented hitter. And I'm not comparing him to Rod Carew, but a Rod Carew used to do that. Um, let's take the time out and do the Costas in spot. All right. And then when we come back, I want to talk about some of these other guys like that you just mentioned, the guys that are Hudson Haskins, Josen, what's his name?
Tavian Josenberger from Arkansas.
Josenberger, a couple more of those. And what you're hearing about the debut of Vance
Okay.
Honeycutt. All right, we'll
Okay.
talk about them when we get back. We're talking outfield for the Orioles and the depth in the organization right now after so much movement on the ball club. By the way, Orioles, for those that are watching live today, Orioles are playing tonight against the Astros at the ballpark. They did bring up Matt Bowman, and they did bring up Nick Vespi,
Yep.
and sent down were Colin Selby and Trevor Rogers was
Yep.
option. He had options, and I think they're going to try and work with him maybe over 2 starts in the minor leagues and see if they can up his uh, up his success rate at the major leagues right now. But talking about the Costas in, you don't have to worry about their success rate. They're doing like 363 days a year, and the success rate is always high because the customers flock in to the Costas in. They really do. 4100 North Point Boulevard. I've been stressing again with the terrible and tragic collapse of the Key Bridge. It's caused a lot of people that used to come over from Catonsville, Arbutus, Glen Burnie, and hop on the Key Bridge. It's caused a lot of them to back off from coming to the Costas Inn because it turned a 20-minute ride, 25-minute ride into an hour and 15-minute ride. So there's the expense of the gas and the time, so a lot of people aren't coming from those areas. That makes it possible for people to re-examine people in Middle River, Essex, Dundalk, Sparrows Point. Uh, Revisit the idea of visiting the Costas Inn. Great specials Monday through Friday for dinner, and some really inexpensive ones and some fairly priced ones. And of course, the price of steaks is sky high, and shrimp is sky high. But the Costas Inn is aware of your budgets and wants to work with you. Try the Costas Inn for the first time in a long time. You'll be glad you did. And of course,
Oh, yeah.
planning a seafood extravaganza. They've got seafood towers now, and they also have those steamed crabs all year long. 410 477 1975. The Costas Inn. Best in show, I'd say, and it's got 4 thumbs up from us. All right. Uh, let's talk about a couple of these players. What happened? I know that they liked Hudson Haskins
Hmm?
a bit, and I saw that his numbers were way down, but then it turned out he'd been injured, and the
Mhm.
level I was looking at, he'd only played 11 games. Has this been sort of a lost season for Haskins because of injury?
No, I would say last season was probably the lost season. This is when he's finally had the room and the to use a
Where's
Michael
he
Elias
played
term.
mostly? Has he played mostly at Bowie this year?
No, he's been at Norfolk and he's getting to I guess we can call it regular usage. He's played 74 games. He has 230 at
Apologize.
bats.
That's the confusion I had when we were going over things. I was on Aberdeen. I think he must have played 11 games of a rehab
Right,
at
right, and 2 series, and before that, he got some at bats down here in Sarasota. But
okay.
this is how the Orioles kind of give a player runway to prove their health. Now Haskin overall, he's got 1,000 at bats. He's got 30 home runs in the minor leagues. He's got 60 minor league steals. His OPS is in the 800 range. This is his 40-man viewing
Push.
period from this year to next year. So I'm going to predict they've stayed with him. This is not a minor league depth guy. This is a second round draft pick. This is a top 40 draft pick. He is 25 years old, but I believe that he will be given a chance to be added to the 40-man roster next year. And I'm basing that on the fact that they've stayed with him through injury until now, and he's doing fine. So Hudson Haskin is kind of like a fast leadoff type of hitter who's had some upper body injuries over the last 30 months, but has proven his health over the last 2 or 3 and is now back in their regular rotation.
Is he a little bit like a right-handed Colton Cowser?
Considerably smaller, but yeah, athletically and what they get out of their swing and their body, that's not a horrible comp at all. And he can go get balls, fly balls like Cowser can too. And he's got a pretty decent arm off that pivot. So adequate defender, not going to set the minor leagues on fire by any means, but a pretty solid player. Again, a second round draft pick in the Kjerstad and Kobe Mayo 2020 draft.
And profiles as a left fielder, most likely.
I have seen him be adept in both corners. I have seen him be good in center, but I think with Fabian and Fabian's acceleration in multiple directions, he's the center fielder for that development tier, and Haskin will have to settle for a corner like Beavers.
Okay.
Good player.
This kid Josephson, tell me,
Better player.
Yeah, tell me about him.
Well, again, Luke interviewed him last week and got a lot of quotes, so you can read about kind of like what he's thinking and what his resume is. But this is a very fast athlete. Probably didn't play only baseball in high school growing up, kind of like a football, basketball type guy. Did not steal a lot in college, and he played in 2 Division I programs, Kansas State and Arkansas. So the Orioles coaches are kind of like teaching him the fundamentals, how to build an account for someone else to steal on, how to watch a pitcher's move to see how long they spend in the windup, and it's working.
How old is he?
I believe he is
22,
22,
23.
and will turn 23 on his next birthday.
Okay. And a right-handed hitter?
Josenberger is his age. He is, yeah, I was right. He's 22, turns 23. He is a switch hitter, but so far this year, he is doing better as a lefty hitting righties. It might be that last step out of the box, or that first step to get to first base. So they're kind of like, I don't want to say a poor man's Bradfield, but those guys going back and forth for the steals leader at Aberdeen helped Aberdeen become the highest stolen base minor league affiliate in the history of the minor leagues. So,
and he's still
there's another indicator that it's working.
He's still at Aberdeen.
Josenberger is still there right now with 45 steals, correct?
Okay. And is he projected to be at Bowie next year based on how he's done this year?
Okay. Based on the things that we just said about all the other players, I would think maybe even before the very last series of this year, just to get him a little bit of exposure for next year. He'll have 100+ games at AA. So, for the Orioles, that's looking like an excellent draft pick. A guy who was pretty good, pretty athletic, but they took him to another level where he can make a difference and impact his team in a positive way. Josenberger is a really good player, and I learned a lot from the quotes he gave Luke.
So let me ask you about the number 1 pick this year, Vance Honeycutt. Tell me a little bit about him, and has he started to play yet with anyone?
Okay, there is a league here in Sarasota. There was a game. Today is Thursday. There was a game yesterday at 10 o'clock. He was supposed to play in it. I went there. Several of my
10
friends.
o'clock a.m., right?
A.m., yes.
AM, right,
and
okay.
when we got there, they had told us that the field did not dry out and they were not playing an official game, and we all left. What did happen is they scrimmaged. He played. I don't know how he did. I didn't get video, and then he got called up to Delmarva, so I'm not going to see him at all. But he'll be playing for the Shorebirds tonight. And what I know about him from watching video and from reading is he is accelerates like Bradfield, but he has size and physical stature like Cowser, which is probably why the Orioles fell in love with him to commit a first
Yeah.
round pick. So from what I read and hear, his defense is slightly ahead of his offense right now. So that's the burden for the Orioles lower minors coaches. Kind of do for him what they did to Jake Cunningham last year, get him up to speed, get his swing looking level and productive. And from there, they can send him to the mid minors. And who knows what will happen after that? You know, he's a first round athlete.
The day of the press conference with Matt Blood and Honeycutt's agent Scott Boras were there, and Honeycutt was there. I asked Matt Blood, I said, if you had to take one of them right now to play center field, who would it be? You know, and he said, that's a good question. I'm not really ready to say
Okay.
who's the better center fielder, which meant that they're both real good center fielders defensively. I've got really one more question for you today, and that is, what are you hearing on Heston Kirsten? You know, again,
Uh,
he's on the IL, recovering from this concussion he got from being hit like in the neck, sort of, or the back of the head. Um, it's startling how much bad luck he has.
it well, to this point, it is. It also stinks because he had some time to start showing what he can do and how he can contribute, and it looked like it looked pretty good.
Yeah,
And this is a contending team that has a lot of injuries. That's exactly what we need from a young, high draft pick type of player. Unfortunately,
his opportunity.
it's here, right?
Yeah,
So I guess what I'm okay with saying is that it became very quickly apparent that he was rushed back.
back, right.
So that did not aid in whatever his recovery was and will become. And the Orioles, once they realized that he was rushed back, have made a
Now that it's back with kid gloves or treating him with
right.
kid
They've
gloves.
made a non-public decision to quietly end his 2024 contribution, which again really stinks. It looks
Yeah,
like they might back into the playoffs and need him
yeah.
and not have him, which really stinks for him.
All right. All right. Some great stuff as we looked at the outfield scenario for the Baltimore Orioles moving ahead
Pretty
after
good
all the
picture.
trades, and it's a pretty good picture.
Yep.
Like a B minus picture.
Oh, I would say based
B.
on I'd say even better.
B.
And we didn't discuss any of the international guys, but they play a big role. And
That's
and
a good point.
and they cut some athletes that didn't fit their profile and whose development is just not going to fit in with where the Orioles are going. I give them credit for that. So I'll raise it from a B to a B plus. Really good organizational outfield picture from the last couple drafts and looking forward really all the way up to like 2030.
All right. He is Eric Garfield, and you can check him out on X at Eric_Birdland. He puts up video of the players, and also you can view our shows uh,
Absolutely.
all the time. We're glad you are watching us and would appreciate it if you would like, follow, and share our Zooms. That's going to do it
Indeed.
for today. We're going to thank our friends at the Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. Atman's Deli, the new Atman's Deli at Baltimore's Harbor Point, now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. And what company makes your home more energy efficient, kills all allergens and viruses, and qualifies you for $6,000 in rebates? That would be AJ Michaels.
It
Turn to
would.
the experts. AJ Michaels and Carrier at ajmichaels.com. For Eric Garfield, I'm Stan the Fan. I'll see you Monday with Luke and Ross Grimsley. Take care and let's go O's. Let's turn this